Hey everyone, it's Mr. Sud coming at you with a video about the Unit 4 free response test that I gave out. So just wanted to make sure I went over it so you had a chance to take a look, compare the rubric with my answers and your answers, obviously, and see if we are on the same page or what we can learn. Okay, so to get started, essentially we have a situation where we're going to randomly assign grades just out of the kindness of our heart. The only plot twist is that we're going to give you an A, B, C, or F. Okay. Given that letter grade, we're going to find the corresponding percent grade, and then we're going to go ahead and display that on Schoology. So that's kind of the game plan here. Now, what we're going to do is we need to produce in the console the following. Your letter grade is, your percent grade is, and note that the percent sign is just a string, it's a text. The 53 is what we're going to look to generate based on the fact that we have a letter grade of F. I gave you the corresponding percentages or integers, really, that are going to correspond to letter grade. So we need to randomly, first thing we need to do is randomly assign a letter grade. And then given that letter grade, we're going to go ahead and find the percentage. There's two methods you really need to write. And then also you need to go ahead and declare your 1D array, instantiate an object, and then use that to call those methods we're going to write. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is go to the random grader class because that's where really all the methods are. So we need to code the methods first, then we can go back to the tester class. I put the tester class in first because that's typically what we see when we open the compiler. We want to look at the main class and then move on over to the other classes. Okay, so looking at random grader, again, I give you the percentages and the corresponding letter grades there so that you have it for your reference without flipping back and forth. First things first, I created for you a one-dimensional array called letters in the random grader class so that so that we can use this for the methods. We localize the grades or the one-dimensional array to whatever object you decide to instantiate. Okay, so now we get to go ahead and write the select letter method. So here's how it's going to work. Does this thing return anything? It does. And I try to use that word for you, and it says random letter grade. Okay, so that should be a dead giveaway that we're going to use string here, right? And it's going to be, whoops, it should be public, my bad. This is a method, public string, and there's autocorrect when you type in word. But typically that's lowercase, not sure if it matters. So we're going to have public string, and then we're going to go ahead and type in this case, it's called select letter. And there are no parameters here, right? We just start running it. So the way it works is we're going to go ahead and traverse through the one-dimensional array here, and we're going to go ahead and well, we don't need to traverse through. We just need to pick a random variable there. So what I'm going to do, because we need to return something, so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll kind of write return at the end, so I know, hey dummy, don't forget to return something, right, when all is said and done. So with this, again, I have a one-dimensional array. We're going to go ahead and pick one of them. The first thing I need to do, though, is come up with a random number, right? And that's going to be taking in, using casting, this math dot, parentheses, math dot random, right? And keep in mind the random number generates some number between 0 and 0.999. So you should know that the range is going to be, in this case, we have the letters. You have a couple choices. I could just use, we're going to go from 0, obviously, because that's where we start. We can go all the way to letters dot length. If you wanted to, you can also do, keeping in mind that it's A, B, C, or F. So that's four choices. So we have index values ranging from 0 to 3. Either one will work. Okay. So we got math.random. Oh, and then do I need to multiply by or add anything to the base? No, because it's going to generate some random number between 0 and 3. 0 and 3. So once I have that random number done, I could just go straight to return and say, hey, go ahead and take letters and return whatever that is at that random number that's chosen. So if random number generates a random, or if the math.random generates a random number of say 1, we're going to go ahead and apply that here. Now there's just one problem. Let me think. We are missing something off the top of my head because I haven't had my coffee. Um, I'm just trying to check. We're generating math.random. I'm so dumb. We should have done this. My bad. That generates the number between 0 and 0.99. We're going to multiply that by letters.length. There we go. Because the length of letters is 4. Just a reminder, letters.length, array.length will return how many elements are in there. So there's going to be 4 elements in there. So if I do 4 times 0, that's 0. 4 times 0.99 will give me 3.9 whatever. And then the casting of the INT will make that just be a 3. Okay, there we go. And I'll have a quick sip of my coffee because I'm clearly not quite all the way awake. But we're going to return the letters bracket random num. And that'll do it for that. Now what I'm going to do is we want to do the choose percent method. So now I'm going to go ahead and write in a case where we're going to return some sort of integer, right? Based, it's called choose percent. And we have a parameter where we're going to take in whatever this is here, right? Whatever letter that's chosen. I have a couple choices here. I realize I'm going to return letters. But I need to go ahead and grab that letter that was created here, right? So to do that, we're going to go ahead and find out like what letter was generated. Now here's the sorry. So now here's the interesting point. So here for a parameter like I was just talking about, we're going to go ahead and bring in some sort of string, right? And call it letter, whatever it is, right? Or chosen letter. I don't care what it's called. What it's going to do is when I call this method again, this is coming from the main class, right? So the main class is going to do two things. One, I'm going to create a one-dimensional array of the letter grades, done. And then once I do that, then I'm going to go ahead and instantiate a random grader object. And then we're going to attach that one-dimensional array to that object. And I'm going to use that object to call select letter. That's going to go ahead and generate a letter, and it's going to go ahead and attach it to that object. So then once I use the object, I can also call the choose percent, and it's going to take in whatever letter that's been chosen. So what I'm going to do now is, it should be in red. You could also make a variable within here that's going to store the select letter and then go ahead and call that as well. But let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then there's going to be a series of if statements, right? Because if I have A, for example, or let's start with F. Let's start from bottom up. So if I have an F, right, then I'm going to go ahead and code in the if statement. And it always autocorrects. Let me see if I can just try and stop that real quick. It might do it one more time, but that's okay. So if we have a case where that chosen letter, right? And this is the important part. The double equal sign is going to evaluate whether these two objects or variables are in the same storage location. Are they the same object or not? We don't want that. We want to evaluate whether or not it equals F, right? We want that string to be looked at. So if it is, right, then we have a case where if that's true, let's go ahead and return. We could return here a percentage, right? I can also store if I want to. We can just go ahead and store that as a percentage just to be safe. So int grade or percent grade equals, we'll call it 0 for now. We'll update it in a minute. I guess I didn't have to initialize it anyway, but then I can go ahead and set percent grade, right, equal to math.random. I should do an int to cast before that. And we're going to multiply by the range, right? So F is going to give me, we have a letter from what, 0 to all the way up to 69%. Okay. So I could just do that times 70. That's all I have to do. There's no base here that I need to worry about. So that's all good. So we have an if, and then what I want to do is I'd like to use else ifs because if that first part isn't true, that first if, then I want to keep evaluating. So same thing, chosen letter dot equals, right? Now let's check out C, right? Let's look at the C potentials. So you can kind of see the pattern that's emerging here. Oops. Right, then I'm gonna set percent grade. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste this over and over because it's gonna take me a while. Okay. The only difference here is I'm going to go ahead and find that range. Well, the only problem is two things. One, the range is not going it's going to be from 60 or 70 to 79, right? So that's a range of let's see, 10, right? It's 10 values. And then you're going to go ahead and do the plus the minimum, which is 70. And it's always a good idea when you're doing this to go ahead and check, like, does this make sense? So feed in, let's say math.random, I know generates a number between 0 and 0.9999, and we're going to multiply that by 70. or sorry, by 10. Okay, that's all well. So it's going to give me some range between 0 and, once I do the INT casting, 9. So it could give me a range between 70 and 79. So that checks out fine. Um, okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and finish this else if. So you can kind of see we're gonna keep repeating this over and over. So I can just copy and paste, right? Although the last one could just be an else, really. Okay, so then we have one for C, we're going to account for B, and the last one's going to be for A, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and update all of these bases. There's just one minor catch on the last one here. So this one's going to generate a random number or grade between 90 and 100, right? So you have to pay attention to that. So that means my range isn't 10, it's going to be 100 minus 90 plus 1, so that's 11. Okay. And then there we go. So we have percent grade done. Now at the end of all of this, we just need to go ahead and return, guess what? Percent grade. I could have also done a return every time. Either way will work. Just remember that once a program hits return, it could be in any of these else ifs or else. Once it hits return, it exits out of the method. So if there's other stuff you wanted to do, then immediately going to return won't help. So it's not the end of the world if you just did return percent grade. You can argue, hey, Southern, you're not as efficient as I am, but sure, it's one line of code. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Okay, I'll end that. Okay, so now we're done with that portion, and there's nothing else remaining, right? Because we did all the coding there. Now I just need to call these things. First thing I need to do, just to go back to the well, is see, like, do you know how to create your one-dimensional array of letter grades? So in this case, we're going to go ahead and create some sort of it's a string, right? And it's going to be whatever we want to call it, say letters, right? Equals, and then we could just do straight up curly brace and do A, B, C, and F. And that's going to go ahead and create that one-dimensional array with 4 elements in it. Done. Okay, then we need to create a random grader object. So the reason for that is I need you to call the methods, and I'm just reminding you, hey, if you want to call any of these methods, you'll need the random grader object to be done. Why it's doing that? Okay, random grader. We'll call it whatever, prototype is new random grader. And then do we need any sort of uh argument? Sorry, I'm just blanking here. Yeah, and in fact, I have to, right? So I have to take in that string letters. So it's just a good reminder, which makes sense because I created it. So I need letters to be attached here. Let me just make sure I'm not duplicating something. I'll just call it new letters. So letters 1. Okay, and then we're going to choose the random letter grade. So now prototype here has all of this assigned. So I'm going to use proto to call the method that we called select letter. I'm just going to go ahead and use it. But I need to store this somewhere. So let's go ahead and create a string. Could call it temporary, whatever we want. And we're going to store, say, A, B, C, or F was chosen, gets stored in there. And then once I have that, then I can call that choose percent method and print it, right? So I can do system.println and go straight to, let me go to red. What was the output? Let's see. There's two things I have to show here. It says your letter grade is, your percent grade is. So you do your letter grade is, and then I can end that. And we can also do a concatenation with, where did I have the select letter is from temp, right? So it's going to go ahead and display that. And then I can do system.out.println for a new line. Your percent grade is, which I realize I don't have I don't have it chosen yet. So let me go ahead and do that quick. And in this case, it's going to be an int, right? So int temp percent equals, we're going to go ahead and use the proto object to do the choose percent. And then I also have to feed in the temp, right? Because that's going to be the letter grades chosen, stored in temp. Okay, so once it's stored in temp, then it's going to come over here and use it as an argument for the choose percent method. I need the object to call that, and then we're going to go ahead and assign it to 10%. So then I can do 10%, if I can spell, and one last concatenation with the percentages. There we go. And there you have it. Let me know if you have questions.